TitleMatchNetwork.com.
Welcome to another edition of the RF Video Shoot interview series. Today we're joined by none other than Bruce Prichard, and it is an honor and privilege to be seated here with you today. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, man.
Let's talk about your background in the business. How did you get involved in the business, and were you a wrestling fan growing up?
I was a wrestling fan from the time I was 4 years old in El Paso, Texas. Used to watch the old Amarillo territory wrestling tapes, which had the Funks, Gory Guerrero, Ricky Romero, JC Dykes, and the Infernos. And always loved wrestling from the time I was 4 years old. When we moved to Houston in 1969, 06, and we started watching Paul Bosch's Houston wrestling. And it was a whole different set of wrestlers, and it was a completely different type of wrestling as well. And just fell in love. And I started working when I was 10 years old, selling programs, selling posters. When I was 12 years old, I was the assistant director of the TV show. 14, I was ring announcing. 16, I got a referee. And 18, I became general manager of the promotion. Kind of took it from there. And if we had a day off from school, there was teacher work day or a holiday, my mom would take us downtown to the wrestling ticket office, and we would time it just so we would be there right when Paul came out to get his mail and say, "Hey, Paul Bosch," and Paul would talk to us, bring us back to his office, and we were those kids that were always around. We were those kids that were always hungry and eager to do anything, and when something would come up, they would ask us to do it, and do it with all the enthusiasm you can muster.
Did Bosch run any other towns besides Houston, or is he responsible for just pretty much Houston?
Paul ran Houston. Paul ran Houston as its own entity. Later years, he allowed his nephew to run some spot shows in the area off of the Houston TV. But Paul was primarily concerned with Houston. That was it.
What's the most valuable lesson you probably learned from Paul?
Wow. That depends on how you want to take the lessons that you learn. I don't know. Paul was always teaching. Paul was always maybe do as I say, not as I do. Because I think Paul's life was a definition of that in many ways, and it was. He was always teaching that to give back, and also to give back to the community, and be brutally honest, but also give back to those that give to you.
Now, Paul went into a working relationship later down the road with Bill Watts, and you got involved with the Mid-South Territory. What are your early memories of Bill Watts? And was Bill ever your boss? Well, obviously he was, so.
Yeah, Bill and I didn't get along. Bill and I never really got along. But I respect Bill tremendously. He was Bill's a brilliant mind for the business, but Bill could be a bully. Bill could be harsh, and I was a young kid. I knew it all. I mean, God, I was how old I was, 22, 23 years old, and I knew everything there was to know. What the hell is this guy that's been in the business and main evented all over the world and booked and created a successful business? What the hell is he going to teach me? So Bill and I had a rough relationship at first. I walked out on Bill one time and came back with my tail between my legs, realizing that I didn't have all the answers and that they didn't come knocking on my door, the next day begging me to come back.
What did you learn from the road agents? Anything?
Yeah, just how to deal with talent in a lot of ways, and it's how to make a show, and I think that in a lot of respects, learn how not to run a live event.
Jay Strongbow was known for killing guys' careers. According to Tracy Smothers, that told us in an interview that he was responsible for killing a lot of guys' careers. Do you agree with that or disagree?
The only guy that can kill their careers are themselves. If you're going to let someone else kill your career, then shame on you, because you can't deny talent, and I swear talent cream is always going to rise to the top. And if the talent is there, one man like a Jay Strongbow or Pat or anybody else, they're they're not going to be able to kill it if it's truly there. For the most part, everybody made the towns and did their job. Sometimes it's like herding cats, but for the most part, everyone was professional enough to make the town, to be there when they needed to be there and perform. So it's sometimes the stories are exaggerated. Sometimes they're so wild that they're unbelievable. So it depends on which. On the line. Yeah, it depends on which end of the pendulum you want to swing. But it's for the most part, everybody made it. See, I wasn't with them at WrestleMania 3. Okay. I started afterwards, but I'll tell you this: knowing what I know now, WrestleMania, and this is one of those moments I didn't really realize until much later. Vince McMahon had called me the night before WrestleMania and said, he goes, "Hey, we've got this show right outside of Detroit. It's on pay-per-view." He goes, "Check it out. You get pay." And I didn't get pay-per-view where I lived. Right. And my girlfriend's parents did. And he says, "Yeah," he goes, "You might want to check it out." He goes, "I'd love to hear what you think about it." And this was, again, the Saturday before WrestleMania, where he's got 93,000 people showing up the next day. Hogan, Andre, all this shit. And somewhere in that time, he took the time to call me, the guy that he'd just been talking to about coming to work for him, to say, "Hey, check this out." And again, later years, knowing how much shit goes into putting on a WrestleMania, that was, it was pretty cool.
What do you think Vince saw in you early on?
Persistence, willingness to do whatever it took. I called his office every single day until he finally took my call. And knew his secretary's name. I called, "Hi, Linda, it's Bruce." Told me to try back at 11 today. It's 11 o'clock. "Sorry, Bruce, he's not here," whatever, blah, blah, blah. "What's a good time?" "Well, try back." On the button, I'd call. And that went on for a couple of weeks. And I had gotten the word from Eddie Gilbert to call him from him. And so I wasn't going to give up. I wasn't going to take no for an answer. So, yeah, I think just the persistence and the willingness to jump into the fire, do whatever it took. And they just thought he was a big redheaded guy, tall redheaded guy, basketball player. And they wanted Sid. Look at Sid. He's Sid. And then there was the tall redheaded kid. But I was always a big fan of Don Jardine, the spoiler. And when Mark walked the ropes, Mark was so smooth and just so, he's great. And I didn't know him from Adam. I just really enjoyed his work and saw a lot of potential in him. And everybody thought I was crazy. It's just he's a big redheaded basketball player. So anyway, I'm giving you a long answer to a short story, but Eddie Gilbert and I used to sit and watch on Sunday nights in Bixby, Oklahoma at the Quality Inn before we do promos the next Monday, and we'd watch back-to-back Oral Roberts, Robert Tilton, Jim Baker, and Jimmy Swaggart. And we would steal stuff from their sermons for promos.
Watch thousands of exclusive shoot interviews right now on TitleMatchNetwork.com.